Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, KRISTIAN, Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Gilmore.
What's up, movie trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official live show for the movie trivia Schmoedown. I am your host, Brad Gilmore, but you might know me by another name. You might know me by the name The Boat. The Boat is in the building. Hashtag best of all time. Hashtag Brad's opinions are true. Hashtag boat life. Hashtag I'm on a boat. Welcome to the show today, guys. Today it's gonna be a little bit of different vibe here for the rundown. It's a little abridged. It's gonna be short. Frank Janisch is in Chicago. And normally that wouldn't be weird because he lives in Chicago, but this week it's a little strange because Star Wars Celebration emanates from Chicago, Illinois, and all of our favorite friends and fans of a galaxy far, far away are all there and in the building. PJ Campbell, Christian Harloff, I believe Mark Ellis is somewhere around there. They're getting ready for that big Schmoedown live event going down in Chicago, Illinois, which, by the way, 950, 975 people. I've seen different numbers. But, as Booker and I say, 975 sold out in Chicago, Illinois to witness a tremendous team match as well as a championship match for the Star Wars League. So I'm excited to hear how that all goes down tomorrow. At the time I'm doing this, I'm recording this on Friday, so I'm excited to see how it goes down tomorrow. I'm going to be at the World Gym Arena, which is home of the next Schmoedown Live event, going down May the 18th in Houston, Texas. Ben Bateman versus Andrew Guy, Founding Fathers versus Double Toasted, Booker T in the building. I'll be there handling commentary duties for Reality Wrestling's pay-per-view No Limits, which is our version of Extreme Rules meets the Royal Rumble, and we're having that 20-man No Limits match to determine the new Reality of Wrestling champion. The new Reality Wrestling champion is going to be determined. We saw what happened to Rex Andrews. So anyway, go to realitywrestling.com to find out more information about that. But this isn't a wrestling podcast. It's a Schmoedown podcast. It's a movie trivia Schmoedown podcast. And one of the other things I wanted to mention right here at the top of the show when we're talking about Star Wars Celebration is Star Wars Episode 9 officially has a title, Rise of Skywalker. This is a title that has caused a lot of issues, going on online. People are kind of split on it. The Rise of Skywalker Episode 9, if you go look at the current number one contender who we're going to talk about today, William the Beast Bibbiani, not happy with the title. Not at all. So I don't know what that's about. Bibbs is hot. Bibbs is hot. But shout out to Bibbs. Next time he's on the show, which he will inevitably be on the show soon, we'll have to talk to him about that because I don't know what's going on with my man Bibbiani. I like the title. So the Rise of the Skywalker. I don't know. The Boat likes it. But also, we talked about the live event. We talked about Chicago. Let's talk about Chicago, though. Let's talk about the event. Who's the boss versus the odd couple? Who's the boss? Ben Bateman and Mark Riley. Mark Riley, of course, former champ 2 times over. One of the Mount Rushmore players of the movie trivia Schmoedown, of course. The first champion, going back to that match that he had with Rocha. I mean, not John Rocha, with Wildman Josh McCouga. Going all the way back to the AfterBuzz days, which I actually went and listened to those matches on the feed, on the, the Schmoedown live, Schmoedown Classic feed on podcasts, on your podcast app, Spotify, wherever. But I was listening to it, and I was like, man, this was so much fun. It was a different rules. It was kind of haphazard. The rulings weren't as strict as they are now, right? I mean, you could say something and kind of get away with it. And Josh McCouga pulls out Matthew Broderick out of nowhere, beating Christian Harloff in the finals or the semifinals to go on to face Mark Riley. So Mark Riley's a seasoned player. The man's been around. He's done it all. And now he's trying to focus in on that tag gold. And I got to say, if there was ever opportunity to do it, it would have been at the Spectacular 3 because Ben Bateman and Mark Riley had played throughout that entire Anarchy tournament, and they done so well, and they performed at such a high level that I thought for sure when they met the Shire Wolves, who'd kind of been sitting on ice, not saying that they weren't doing anything through the season. Obviously, they had a great season in 2018, but when I said they're sitting on ice, to me, they weren't as warm. See, it's some of the things that I worry about in a playoff series. If the one seed, let's say the Warriors and Clippers coming into this playoffs, the Warriors are probably going to beat the Clippers 4-0. At best, the Clippers win a game. And now you have the Warriors sitting around waiting for the winner of the Utah Jazz Rockets series. And I think a lot of the times when you sit down for a long time, you don't have that chemistry, you're not in sync, you're not warmed up, you got to get warmed up. As opposed to going to a 7-game series, you're going to be tired, but you're going to have that timing down. You're going to know what's been going on. You're going to know what's been working, what's not been working. What hasn't been working for your team. So I thought that the Shire Wolves, going back to that 2018 match with Who's the Boss, I thought that they were going to be in trouble because they weren't playing as consistently together like Ben Bateman and Mark Riley had. But obviously, great match, incredible match. One of the greatest team matches of all time we saw at that show. But Shire Wolves were able to pull out a victory. So when you think about that, you're like, okay. So who's the boss? Now they have the odd couple. You got Mark Andreyko, you got Jeff Snyder. Jeff Snyder, I don't know why people seem to want to look past Jeff Snyder because he is one half of the greatest team of all time, which is still the Patriots. Shire Wolves are on their heels, but the Patriots are still the greatest team of all time. So I don't know why people like to look past him. Maybe it's because I saw John Rocha say something on Collider Live to the effect of he doesn't care if he loses and he likes to mess with people. I think that he does care if he loses. I think that that's kind of a front. I think that Jeff Snyder really does care if he wins or loses. And he has that, facade about him to kind of temper expectations. And then if he does lose, he's not as upset about it, or he tries to tell himself he's not upset about it. I think he cares, and I think he cares a lot. And I think him regaining the team championships with a new teammate, Mark Andreyko, a guy who's been close to singles gold, never quite grabbed the brass ring, as Vince McMahon would say. I think that he would love the opportunity to win championship gold, both of them again, and to do it by beating Who's the Boss, who is the second best team in the league right now. The only reason they're not the first best team is because they don't have the championship. So if they're able to beat Who's the Boss and then go out there and beat the Shire Wolves, man, that would be such a sweet victory for Jeff Snyder. And I think that it would, if Jeff Snyder, as a part of the Odd Couple, wins against Who's the Boss and the Shire Wolves, Jeff Snyder is the greatest team player of all time. I mean, you win gold with two different teams, and you're the consistent element there. I think that you're the best. I think you're the best team player of all time. But is that going to happen? I don't think so. I think Ben Bateman and Mark Riley are so driven and they're so focused, and they just want the opportunity to face the Shire Wolves just one more time. Can they do it? I think they will. When you have 900 plus people cheering for you. Now the crowd's going to be split a little bit, but Jeff Snyder has still has a heelish odor about him. Even if he's with Mark Andreyko, even if he's with Roxy Stryer, he's still got some of that heel odor about him that Ben Bateman has shed for the most part based on his level of play and how much he cares about the game. So I think Ben Bateman and Mark Riley go out there at the live event and clean house, and they're going to walk away getting that shot at the Shire Wolves and becoming number one contenders. And I go back to an analogy that I've used so many times before on this show, but it's the NFL schedule. When two teams play each other twice in a season, 9 times out of 10, I don't have a stat to prove this because Frank Janisch isn't here. I have only my mind and my eyes to prove it, and this is what I remember seeing, right? This is what I remember seeing. And every time a team goes out there, they face you once, and if they lose, they know what they did wrong enough to try to go out there and beat you the second time. A lot of times they split the victories. So if Who's the Boss gets another shot at the Shire Wolves, I really would be nervous if I was Clark Wolf and Rachel Cushing, because as good as they've been, you can only do it for so long. You know, we see the Warriors this year, to go back to another sports reference. I hope I'm not losing some of the Boats fans out there by too many sports references. But this is my frame of reference. I work at a sports radio station. All right, give me a break. By the way, Hall of Fame, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on ESPN 97.5 with Booker T, 9 to 11. Streaming live on BookerTLive.com. You can get the podcast, Hall of Fame Podcast.com. But anyway, the Warriors this season have kind of been, they've been a little out of sync. You talk about a team that went 73-9, and now they have at least 20 losses. I think they're a 50-plus win team, 50, maybe 7 or 8. I don't know the standings right now. Actually, let's ask Australian Siri. Australian Siri, what are the Warriors' rankings this year in the NBA? What's their record?
The Warriors finished at 57-25.
57-25. Okay, so this is a team who lost only 9 games a few years ago, and now they've almost lost triple that. So what I'm saying is, even though they're still the best team in the league, every season, every year, every defense, every game, it's hard to keep up that pace. So if Who's the Boss wins, or the odd couple wins, I think whichever team wins, they have the best shot at beating the Shire Wolves out of any other team before. But I think Who's the Boss winning, they have the greatest percentage of beating them. They faced them before. They know where they're weak. They know where they can get better. They know their weaknesses. They've seen their play out of the 6 games or however many Vinces they've had or matches they've had, the Shire Wolves, undefeated. They have the ability to go out there and knock down the Shire Wolves. So what's going to happen, man? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Go to TriviaSD.com, theschmoedownlive.com. Find out how you can get the live stream. If you want to purchase the live stream, the links are available to my knowledge. Go to the Patreon as well. Figure out how you can get the live stream, because I'm going to be watching it. Even though I'm going to be calling a pay-per-view, I'm going to be watching this thing, man. I cannot help it. They did this to me at the Schmoedown Throwdown, and I watched it. I watched it as matches were occurring, because I had to figure out who won. I had to know. So make sure you go support that. 900, almost 1,000 people. Almost 1,000 people strong for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Houston, H-Town. We got to outdo that. But this is how the show's going to work. Frank Janisch did send us some clips. He sent us some video. So we're going to throw to Frank Janisch's opinions and thoughts on this first match in the week. We had JT versus Jon Harris. Not Jon Harris. Big brother Jon Harris. And they were fighting to see who was going to be the partner of Jon Harris. Would it be JT? Would we see the Evil Geniuses back? Or would the Harris brothers have another run at those championships in 2019? That's how this was all set up. This was the stipulation match that we had talked about, that was teased about, and then we saw it. And it was the triumphant return in singles competition of JT. We saw him at the free-for-all. Was he going to be in fighting shape? I don't know. We were going to find out. So Frank Janisch is going to give us his opinions on that match. I'm going to come back and give you mine. But first, we got to talk about the cut scene, brother. The scene that we saw between Ben Bateman and John Rocha was great. It was phenomenal. Ben Bateman kind of comes up to John Rocha and he's like, "Hey, man, I know there's been a lot of talk about me joining the Horsemen," and John's like, "No, you're not going to join the Horsemen." He's very Rocha-y. He's too Rocha-y. And Ben Bateman says, "I don't want to join the Horsemen. I don't need the Horsemen. Me and Riley, we're doing great. We're figuring it out. We got a shot at the championships. We have a shot to get a shot at the championships, I should say. And I don't want to. But we have one common enemy. That's Andrew Guy. So, we might, not be partners, but we're on the same side in this war. So essentially is what he said. And John Rocha, trying to resist the charm of Ben Bateman, which I got to say, Ben Bateman is a very charming man. He kind of tries to keep his guard, and then when Ben Bateman walks away, John Rocha just hits him with a damn it. A damn it in agreement almost, like saying, "Oh, he's right. Ben Bateman is right, man. He is right." And we are on the same side of this. And I'm wondering if that's when John Rocha is going to start to see, okay, look, Ben might not be my first choice to join the Horsemen. Ben's saying he doesn't want to join the Horsemen. But if we're fighting on the same side of this war, and we're both going against Andrew Guy, shouldn't we be fighting as teammates? Shouldn't we don the same colors to go into battle against dastardly Drew Guy, against the family, Robert Meyer Burnett, Drew McQueenie? Shouldn't you have a little bit of backup Ben? I'm wondering if the Outlaw's thinking that, because it's funny that he's the Outlaw, because the Outlaw should really be a loner in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, John Rocha is. Even though he's been a part of a faction, he really has been the outspoken member of the Four Horsemen. He doesn't go with the flow ever. When Dan goes with the flow, Mark Riley's going with the flow. Rocha, not so much. Never does it. So will the Outlaw relent and let the boss join in the ranks of the Four Horsemen? We're going to have to see. But let's get to this match. Let's hear Frank Janisch's thoughts on JT Jon Harris.
JTE, he is back, and boy, did I ever miss him in this league. And absence truly does make the heart grow fonder. He had an incredible match, not necessarily trivia-wise, but just being JTE and just knowing what he brings to the league now that he's back in it and active. You really do appreciate what he does when he's an active participant in the league. As for his play, it was typical JTE stuff because he really does shine in a team aspect, but for him to go up against Jonathan Harris here, who had a pretty good showing as well. I mean, he is the perceived lesser of the Harris brothers, trivia-wise, but I think he held his own pretty well. And not to mention his jabs and digs at JTE throughout the match and post and pre-match interviews were fantastic. So now that he's their manager, Evil Genius's manager, it's going to be interesting to see how JTE and Jonathan Harris get along. I'm just really glad JTE's back, and this is a good match for him. It's been just about a year since he's played a singles match, so it's been quite a while for him to be at the desk by himself, because like I said, he really excels in the team aspect, and when you put him with someone like Jon Harris, who has a very wide range of knowledge, he doesn't have, I think, a specialized knowledge in areas that JTE is very proficient in. I think JTE also has a very wide knowledge base of movies, but I think he skews in a particular way, kind of the action, kind of cheesy action, and those typical glorified action 90s movies and stuff like that. But he does know his stuff, and I think he's a great compliment to Jon Harris, who tends to be on the, I guess you could say, upper tier of films. That's kind of where he likes to roam, I guess you could say that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them as a team, because their first time out, they looked pretty scary. They looked really scary, and they could have went the whole way. I surely think they would have made the final in that tournament, and who knows if they'll ever beat or even get a shot at the Shire Wolves or the title itself. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to see that happen throughout the rest of this year. It's really exciting stuff. We've had a great first part of this year, and now that JTE's back into the fold, what's that going to do when, let's say, maybe they go up against who's the boss, and that manager is none other than Tom Dagnino. So his interactions, JTE's interactions with everyone else in the league, I'm really looking forward to all the matches that he will have, hopefully and potentially. It's a lot of fun as a viewer, so I'm looking forward to it. But hey, JT is back, cocoa nuts and all. Oh man, and he actually said Guillermo del Toro fairly correctly, better than he has in the past. So I'm looking forward more to JTE, and it's going to be great.
And there you had it from Frank Janisch, a great breakdown by Frank the Tank. Which, by the way, there was an article on TriviaSD.com which proposed stipulation matches after this JT Jon Harris one, and one of them was Tim the Tank Franco versus Frank the Tank Janisch with me on commentary. This was floated on TriviaSD.com by my man Tim. So if this goes down, I kind of would like it. But the Tank, it's a good nickname. It's good. It's not great. It's not perfect. It's not the best. Because the best of all time, the best nickname of all time, it's the boat. Of course it's the boat. Boat emojis. If the boat is a better nickname than the tank, boat emojis. All right? In the comments, I want to see some boat emojis. Shout out to all my fellow seamen, all my fellow sailors. My girlfriend said, you should call them fellow sailors. I get it's funny, it's a joke. Let's go with sailors. So shout out to all my fellow sailors on that. Boats all around. But I agree with a lot of things that Frank said. JT's always been an elite player. And even though he's had some time off, and I do love, I got to say, I haven't always been a fan of Big Brother Harris from a character standpoint. Doesn't do it as good as his little brother Lon. That kind of professorial gimmick. But he was coming with the quips, man. Especially, I can't remember the question off the top of my head, but it was about a bird, or the bird, or something to that effect. And Big Brother John was kind of like, "Is that a shot at JTE?" Which I got legitimately. I was eating Mexican food when I was watching this match in a Mexican restaurant by myself, headphones in, laughed audibly, and I know everyone around me looked at me. I didn't care because it was funny, and I laughed, and I appreciate Big Brother Harris. But JT's level of play was so good. And I really don't think that Jon Harris ever had a real shot to defeat him. I mean, there were some moments where I thought Jon could make a comeback, but JTE, whether it be singles, we saw his play in the free-for-all, and I know those were just kind of one-point questions. A lot of people call them two-pointers just because of the level of difficulty of them, but JT still did really, really well in that, and then it was his first match back. He made it to the final three, and then now to come back and do this match, JTE, man, he's still a presence to be felt in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown League, and I think that him in, look at that, appearance by the Kitty Carson. Hey, brother, get down, brother. I think that him in the singles league is good, but him now in the teams league is very interesting. I would love to see Evil Genius's Odd Couple, and I would even love to see JT versus Snyder in an singles match to see who really gets that music from the Patriots. I don't know. But JT did a really good job, and I want to see what happens with the Evil Geniuses from here, especially with Jonathan Harris being their manager. Really weird scenario there, or scenario. Which one is it? I guess it depends on what side of the country you live in. Scenario, it's the same thing. But JT, congrats, man. It's good to see him back. It's good to have Little Evil's presence in the league. It really is. And I got to say this. I was at WrestleMania last weekend, and after WrestleMania, we got on the buses to go back to the Talent Hotel, and you never know who you're going to sit next to at these things. So I was sitting next to somebody. I didn't know who she was. And we were talking, and it turns out she was Roddy Piper's daughter. And I said, oh, okay, yeah. I was like, Roddy did some stuff with the Schmoes in L.A. She goes, oh, yeah, I know Mark Ellis. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I think she said her and Mark did a movie or something together. I don't know. I never heard Mark Ellis doing a movie, but I want to see it. So anyway, we were talking, and I was telling her about the prank that they played on JTE, and we laughed about it. If y'all haven't seen the Roddy Piper prank on JTE, really funny stuff, man. Really, really funny stuff. And so shout out to Teal over there. Great talking to you. She's in Los Angeles, but it's great talking to you in New York City. So anyway, let's go to the next match. Again, this is an abridged version of the Schmoedown Rundown. I am sorry. I want to be more in-depth. I want to be more analytical, but my analytics guy is out today. Like I said, he's partying in Chicago, Illinois. He's going to be there at the live event, so I expect Frank Janisch. I expect you to get some live videos for us, or some videos, some interviews, so we can play on the Schmoedown Rundown next week when we make our return together, the tank and the boat. But let's talk about this triple threat match. Triple threat, number one contenders match. You saw Ethan Erwin, William the Beast Bibbiani, and John Rocha. Before I play Frank Janisch's thoughts on it, of which I have not listened to, so we could be in complete disagreement or complete agreement about this match, I will tell you initially, a little bit bummed by Rocha's performance. And I don't know if John Rocha is just, he's playing so much, right? Doesn't he feel like he's playing a lot? I guess he's not, but we're seeing him more often right now. And Founding Fathers had the match coming up in Houston. He played in this match. We saw him in the free-for-all make a good run. He was just the champion in December. And he's playing so much recently. I'm just wondering if he's a little bit burned out. Because Jon Rocha is one of those guys, man. Shout out to Rocha, because he's one of those guys who puts everything into the Schmoedown. And he gets so hyped up about it. And he gets himself in a zone. And he wants to win so bad. He wants to be the best player so bad. He wants to be the boat in the movie Trivia Schmoedown so bad. And I think that sometimes when he puts all that energy and you muster up all that energy, he's like an MMA fighter. He's like Randy Couture. Randy Couture, Captain America, The Natural, so good, so great. And you can only take on so many wars. And Rocha's had so many wars in his career in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. You can only take on so many. So I was a little bit, I don't want to say disappointed, but I guess I was expecting a bigger performance from Jon Rocha, and he tried to come back. And when he got that sports category in round 2, he thought that was going to be his opportunity. A little bit depressed that he didn't know Caretaker from The Longest Yard, because I can test that The Longest Yard in 2005 is a sleeper for one of the best Adam Sandler movies. Because there's not a lot of like great Adam Sandler movies. You know, there's Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore. And some people say stuff like Waterboy, okay. Little Nicky, not so much. Mr. Deeds was funny. And then that kind of ended his run. And this 05 Longest Yard, I really enjoyed it, especially because you have two of my favorite worlds clashing. You have rappers like Nelly in it, Eminem and D12 doing the soundtrack, and then you have Goldberg, Great Khali, Kevin Nash, and Stone Cold Steve Austin all in a movie together. So Longest Yard, up there for me. So for you to not know Chris Rock played Caretaker in The Longest Yard, a little bit disappointed, but it's okay. Everybody's got their thing. You can't all be like the boat. So he thought he could come back in that one, but dude, I don't know if it was from the free-for-all. I don't know what it was, but Bibbiani is on a run, man. He is on a run. His run really started at the end of last year when he, sorry, the boat was thirsty. When he made the run for the championship, won the championship in that match with Mark Andreyko. Andreyko losing on the Ready to Rumble question. And then he didn't defend it against Jon Rocha, but instantly the next season, he's already back in title contention. He came out here, perfect first round. I don't think that he missed any question that he was directly asked. He didn't pick up that Caretaker question either, so I think he got that one wrong. But so good. His play's been on such a high level. Like I said, the free-for-all was the show of shows, the ultimate performance. And even Ethan Erwin, who's now on a bit of a losing streak because he won the title against Jon Rocha, lost it instantly to Dan Murrell. The run didn't really last long for him. And then he gets this opportunity to get back into contention. And he does well. I mean, he did well. It was Ethan Erwin doing big-time Ethan Erwin things. I don't know if RDJ and Sherlock Holmes has been too distracting for him as of late, because he didn't perform. I mean, I guess, you know what? I'm being unfair, because Jon Rocha and Ethan Erwin both performed well. So I shouldn't say that they didn't. My thing was Bibbs played so well that it kind of overshadowed what normally would be good play from anybody, but Bibbs has been so locked in, man. So locked in. And for him to essentially go perfect in this game and win that match. And now he's the number one contender. Now he also has the opportunity to get a number one contender shot in another match. What do you do, man? What does Bibbs do? Where does he go from here? I don't know. Kitty Carson's really trying to get his followers up. Because my brother, leave me alone for a minute. I love you, but leave me alone for a minute. So I don't know where Bibbs goes now. I mean, obviously he's got a shot at Dan Murrell. He's going to face the champ. Huge. And I'm sure Dan's going to still be the champion. I don't think there's any other defenses coming up because he won the free-for-all. So that's a great match, and I'm excited to see it. And if Bibbiani's continuing this play, man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Dan Murrell can beat this version of Bibbiani, especially now conquering his third-round blues. If he goes into the fifth round, he's done it before. He can do it again. Dan Murrell is a lot different from Mark Andreyko. Dan Murrell's way different than John Rocha. Dan Murrell's not emotional. You can't get under his skin. He's not sometimes his own worst enemy. He's measured. He's consistent. He's unwavered. He's the greatest movie competition player of all time. Movie competitor. Whether that be movie fights or the movie trivia Schmoedown. So, this is Bibbiani's biggest test ever. If he pulls it off, Bibbs has to be in top combo for player of the year. I think Dan Murrell's there right now. And I don't know if you can beat Dan Murrell. But if you went as many rounds as Bibbiani did in the free-for-all, then you beat John Rocha and Ethan Erwin at the same time, and then cash in on Dan Murrell? Man, I don't know, brother. You have a strong case. I mean, obviously, there's so much left of the season. We still got, 8 months left of the season, but Bibbs has really been impressive, and this is the best Bibbiani we've seen since his initial debut and his initial run. This is the best Bibbs. This is really a great movie trivia Schmoedown player all around. From the entertainment, the entrances, and now the play is matching everything that else he's been doing. Bibbs, man, shout out to you. But let's hear what let's hear what my guy Frankie J29 has to say about this triple threat match.
All right, man. This number one contenders triple threat match between Ethan Erwin, William Bibbiani, and John Rocha was something to see. And I have to say, I thought this match was going to be pretty intense. Turned out it wasn't as intense as I thought it could be. And that's basically because of William Bibbiani. He steamrolled through this entire match, just like he pretty much steamrolled through the free-for-all. I mean, he picked up where he left off from right there. He misses just one question the entire match, and it was on a steal opportunity, so it wasn't even one of his questions that was originally for him. I mean, just a fantastic showing. I mean, a perfect round in the first round, all 8 plus the bonus. Goes perfect in the final round where it's been such a bugaboo for him in the past. He slays that dragon here in this match. And look at Ethan Erwin. This is his second loss in a row now, losing to Dan Murrell in New York, and now losing the number one contenders match here to Bibbiani. Look for him to be still in the mix going forward, but it's gotta hurt knowing that you have 2 consecutive losses after starting, 7 or 6-1, 6-0, and then you go 1-2 in your final 3. So your last 3. But he's Ethan Erwin. I loved his shirt. He's just Ethan Erwin doing Ethan Erwin things. So I like the attitude that Jay's kind of bringing to him, because I think I don't know how these losses would affect him if he didn't have Jay in his corner. I don't know, because Jay, he can be that motivational voice in your head and get you to the next level and get you to the next match. So I think it's good that Jay's with Ethan at this time, because look, Ethan's gonna be back and he's gonna be fighting for this belt. It's seemingly almost every other couple of months or something like that. So he's going nowhere. As for Rocha, this is his first loss in a number one contenders match. He's won his previous 2, albeit they weren't triple threat matches, and they weren't against William Bibbiani or Ethan Erwin. So, but he's talked about it before, going up against 2 titans of the league, and those 2 titans played, and Rocha's play just wasn't there today. Kind of a rough start, really, to start the match, because he was so close on to Paris with Love. And he was, from Paris with Love, that whole thing. So he was that close to kind of keeping even throughout the entire first round. But it really didn't matter because, like I said, Bibbiani was just on another level. His second round play, he went with sports. It bit him last time. Kind of did the same thing here for him. But I mean, sometimes you got to think, I already got the questions that I'm not going to know. Is it going to happen again? Turns out it did. Hindsight's 20/20 to go with another category in that situation. Which I gotta say, it was interesting that Bibbiani let 2 players go ahead of him, because that's going to be 2 slices off of that 12 wedged wheel. So kind of narrowing his choices, and especially when opponent's choice is always going to be on there. I thought it was an interesting way to go, but it turned out it doesn't matter. And they talked about it in the broadcast. This is the Bibbiani that we've been waiting to see, that we expected to see, and it's coming to fruition now. And it's happening at such a peculiar time in the league, because I think it's more stacked than ever. And Bibbiani, he's raised his level. He's had his woes. I mean, he's 7-5, just a couple of games above 500. For a player like him, that's pretty shocking. But he was bitten with some bad luck in the beginning, and now he's really turned it around, especially winning the title last year. His showing at Free For All, he's going to be in the hunt this whole entire year for a belt. Whether it's in teams as well remains to be seen. I mean, he has a number 1 contender shot to use now that he has a title shot against Dan Murrell, who he was standing next to at Free For All for a vast majority of the end there. So I'm really looking forward to this Dan Murrell-Bibbiani match. It's the first of its kind. When you look at Erwin, Murrell, Bibbiani, those 3 right now are playing the best, and it really could be. I guess you could say that Ethan Erwin and William Bibbiani are the next iteration of what Riley and Rocha were to Murrell in the early beginnings of the Schmoedown when it started at Collider. It could be the Murrell, Bibbiani, Ethan Erwin transferring of the belts. It could be one of those, and that's also a testament to Dan Murrell, who's withstood all of these changes and the new talent that's coming in, and he's still at the top right now. So can he fend off William Bibbiani? I don't know. That's going to be a close one. Had this match happened like last year, I would have said it's probably Murrell's going to take it. I would have felt pretty confident. But the way Bibbiani is playing now, going up against Dan Murrell, and look, Dan Murrell, he's coming off a perfect match in a title match in New York in the beginning of the year. So, and he played really well as a free-for-all, obviously, because he won it. But not only that, he played really well accuracy-wise, answering those questions alongside Bibbiani. So this is going to be a hell of a battle to see between Bibbiani and Murrell. I hope this one's at a live event. That would be insane. But if it's not, it's still going to be juicy nonetheless. So I'm really looking forward to this match and many others between Ethan Erwin, and see how Rocha bounces back. And there's a lot going on, and it's going to be something.
The tank is rolling, brother. And the boat likes it. The boat likes the tank. The boat and the tank are friends right now. But I wanted to, before we get out of here, there was that article I referenced on TriviaSD.com about stipulation matches. You know, there was What's in a Name, which is Tim the Tank Franco versus Frank Janisch for the tank name. Like it. School's out. The Professor Jon Harris to teach Elliot Dewberry the finer side of cinema, in a lesson from which Josh McCouga managed to successfully play truant. Perhaps it's time for the Professor to try a new tactic. He's saying the Professor could challenge Josh McCouga in a singles match with a twist. A win for Harris would see the Wildberries, including manager Ricky Hayberg. Oh, yeah. have to attend mandatory series of classes led by the Professor and the Steam colleague, Big Brother Jon Harris. That would be funny. I'd like to see that. Here's another stipulation. The Battle of Champions. Dangerous Dan Murrell versus Rachel Cushing. That could be interesting. Murrell puts the singles championship belt on the line, and Cushing the Inner Geekdom belt, in a 5-round singles match that includes your usual singles categories and a couple categories you would only find in Inner Geekdom. Woo! At WrestleMania, we just saw a winner-take-all match in the main event. Becky Lynch gets both belts. She's Becky 2 belts now, the Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion. Winner-take-all, brother. Schmoedown. Let's make it happen. Christian Harloff, let's make it happen. Sam Levine, let's make it happen. Emma Fife, sign off on it. Because that would be really awesome. And you could set it up, as they say in the article, following Dan's free-for-all victory. He says, he could cash in on Rachel. If Rachel earns the opportunity, man, winner take all. Talk about records. You want to break the box office. You want to have the highest viewed match in movie trivia Schmoedown history. Winner take all. Dan Murrell, Rachel Cushing. Perfect. I could not think of a better stipulation match. And there's other ones there. Y'all should go read them. Shout out to Tim Etheridge, who wrote that article on TriviaSD.com. I really like this idea of a winner-take-all match. I really do. But hey, guys, this is all that we're going to do for the rundown today. I know it's an abridged version. I know that we didn't have that deep analytical conversation that we normally do, but that's because Frank Janisch out at Star Wars Celebration living it up. Not giving a in the fast lane, to quote Limp Bizkit and Fred Durst from Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavored water. So anyway, we're going to be back next week. We'll talk more. We'll break these matches down more. If anything develops, obviously, over Star Wars Celebration weekend, which we know there's going to be something, Frank and I will have great conversations with the winners of the live event matches that we're going to see in front of almost 1,000 people. Sold out. In Chicago, Illinois. So for our producer, Chris Clark, at Chris Clark 8788, those numbers mean nothing. For Frankie J, at Frankie J29 on Twitter. For me, at Brad Gilmore, the boat, at Brad Gilmore on all social media. Follow us at SD Rundown on Twitter, Schmoedown Rundown on Facebook, and I think Instagram, we're SD Rundown now. I think we may have changed it for consistency. I'm not sure. I'll go find out. But for all of us, we will see you next week here on the Schmoedown Rundown. Insert snarky Janisch comment here.